Right now, I want to talk about how we got here and what is going on and what we can expect going forward. I want to bring in now our senior legal affairs correspondent, Paula Reed. She has been following this from the very beginning. Good morning to you. What are you learning about still the indictment and what we have to go through, and it is still yet to be unsealed?
It's amazing. Even the former president's attorneys still don't know the charges that that have been filed under seal. Now, that's because they want to treat him the same way they would treat any other defendant. And what we're expected to see on Tuesday is that he will go before a judge, he will be fingerprinted, he will be photographed. Again, they want this to be like any other case, but Don, we know this is unlike any other case in U.S. history.
A Manhattan grand jury voting to indict former President Donald Trump Thursday. While the case is still under seal, sources tell CNN he faces more than 30 counts related to business fraud. The former president responding to the indictment, calling the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg a disgrace and claiming the entire investigation is a witch hunt.
He's ready to fight. You know, he's the toughest guy I know. Yeah. And he was shocked, you know, because I was shocked. Today, the rule of law in the United States of America died.
The indictment concludes a years-long probe investigating a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels to remain silent about an alleged affair with Trump, an affair Trump denies. The case relies in part on the testimony of Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, who has in the past pleaded guilty to 9 federal crimes, including lying.
I am a convicted felon. I am a disbarred lawyer, but I also brought the documents. There's plenty of testimony, corroborating testimony to go around.
Cohen paid Daniels $130,000 just weeks before the 2016 presidential election. According to court filings, the Trump Organization reimbursed Cohen $420,000.
It's a fight against his rejection of truth and his manufacturing of stories that really motivated her.
The Manhattan District Attorney's Office was also asking questions during the grand jury proceedings about Karen McDougal. She was paid $150,000 by the company that publishes the National Enquirer to stay silent about another alleged affair with Trump. Trump has denied any affair with McDougal. Trump's longtime friend and then chairman of the National Enquirer's parent company, David Pecker, is believed to have orchestrated the payment and was one of the last witnesses to testify before the grand jury Monday. But even Trump's potential Republican presidential rivals criticizing the indictment. Governor Ron DeSantis tweeting, "It's un-American." And Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence telling CNN,
"I think the unprecedented indictment of a former president of the United States on a campaign finance issue is an outrage."
And one of the former president's attorneys tells me that the district attorney actually wanted him to surrender today. That would have been, though, a really tight turnaround considering all the security that they would need to get in place.
They wanted to tamp down the circus-like atmosphere that is sure to follow. So they wanted, instead of waiting till Tuesday over the weekend, time for people to gather and so forth, they wanted him to turn himself in so that this can be over and done with, at least the appearance.
So much for that. We'll see him on Tuesday, right? In what will surely be a circus-like atmosphere.
All right. Thank you very much. Paula Reed will continue to follow this. Caitlin?
Well, I think it's important this morning to step back and look at how we got here. This didn't just come out of nowhere, and it was back in 2006, actually, that Trump first met both Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. 5 years after that is when Stormy Daniels tried to sell her story to a publication known as Life and Style. But Michael Cohen, then working for Trump, threatened a lawsuit, and the story was never published. Fast forward to 2015, Trump announces that he's running for president. Of course, he came down the escalator at Trump Tower. It's the following spring that Daniels tries to sell her story again. No one bites, not even the National Enquirer. That summer, Karen McDougal's story is caught and killed. And remember, CNN obtained a secret audio tape at the time of Trump and Cohen discussing how all of it would play out. You hear them mention David, as in David Pecker of the National Enquirer, who also testified this week before the grand jury, and Alan. That's Alan Weisselberg, who was the CFO of the Trump Organization and is right now still serving a jail sentence.
I need to open up a company
for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David. So I'm all over that. And I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be.
What financing?
We'll have to pay you. So no. I got no.
A few months after that conversation is when a bombshell dropped, and the Access Hollywood published a tape of former President Trump. That's candidate Trump at the time. The very next day, on October 8th, is when Daniels seemed to sense there was an opportunity to pitch her story once again. After years of failing to sell it, this time there was interest. On October 10th, 3 days after the Access Hollywood tape and about a month before the presidential election, Michael Cohen agreed to pay Stormy Daniels $130,000 in exchange for her silence. That deal threatened Daniels with severe financial penalties if she ever spoke about the alleged affair. On the 28th, that agreement was signed, 11 days before Election Day. Of course, an election we now all know Trump won. Poppy, all of this is the heart of what the district attorney is now looking at, what they are going into. It is remarkable the time that has lapsed here. Yes. And the fact that it has culminated with this indictment that we saw.
To walk through from 2006 until where we were and where we are now is remarkable indeed. Caitlin, thank you. So that's the timeline. Let's talk about what came immediately after, right? 2016, 2017, Donald Trump paid Michael Cohen back with a series of monthly checks, right? $35,000 a month after month. Different case, but when Michael Cohen was looking at charges, the DOJ said that those checks were accounted for as legal expenses, even though they were not part of any legal service that he provided to Trump that year. So now what? Ellie Honig is back, our CNN senior legal analyst. Okay, Ellie, let's start, I guess, where we are now, where we'll be on Tuesday. What happens now?
Yeah, Poppy, so this is historic. This is unprecedented. But you know what? It's just a case as well. It will be titled People of the State of New York versus Donald Trump. So what are we going to see on Tuesday? This is what we call an arraignment. It's a first appearance in court. Donald Trump will be, in all likelihood, fingerprinted. He may have his mugshot taken as well. Mugshots, by the way, are typically not available to the public under New York state law. At that proceeding, the indictment will be unsealed. That's when we'll see it. That's when we'll know what the charges are. The judge will read the charges to Donald Trump, ask him to enter his plea. He will certainly plead not guilty. And then the judge will almost certainly release Donald Trump on what we call his own recognizance, meaning come back when you will. One important thing I want to notice, this court where we're going to be is a state court. It is called, somewhat confusingly, New York Supreme Court. You hear Supreme Court, you think of 9 justices in robes. The Supreme Court here means the trial level court in downtown Manhattan. After that arraignment, we're going to be into the trial process. We're going to have motions. Watch for Donald Trump's team to ask to downgrade or dismiss some of the charges. Then discovery. Prosecutors have to turn over all their evidence, good and bad, to the defense. Then we will get to a trial. If there's a conviction, we will get to sentencing, and then it's all got to go up on appeal. So we are at the very beginning of a long process.
Very long process. Let's talk about potential charges here. Our John Miller broke the news last night. This indictment has 30-plus counts. What could they be?
Yeah, so we know that there's over 30 counts. That doesn't necessarily correlate with seriousness,
right.
But let's take a look at what it could be. If these charges are based on the hush money payments that Caitlin just laid out, we could be looking at a state charge for falsification of business records. The idea there is if they falsely log these payments as attorney's fees, that would be a misdemeanor, meaning the maximum penalty is 1 year. No one's realistically going to go to jail on a misdemeanor. However, if prosecutors can prove that those records were falsified in order to conceal or commit some other crime, some second crime, then we're talking about a Class E felony. That's the lowest class. It goes A to E.
Okay.
The max there would be 4 years, but the judge still has discretion to give no prison time. Now, what might that other crime be? Could be a potential campaign finance crime. A little bit of a legal difficulty there, though, because it's state court, remember, but we're talking about a federal election.
Can you talk, though, Ellie, about the fact that what the prosecution is going to have to argue here to try to try to succeed on these charges is they're going to try to have to tie a federal crime to a state charge, and that is uncharted. It has never been done in this way ever in the history of the state of New York.
When you hear Trump's legal team say these charges are unprecedented, to an extent, they're not.
True.
Right? I mean, falsification of business records charges happen all the time.
But the combination, the way they're doing it.
That's the unprecedented part. That, again, we are in state court here, and they're looking at potentially charging a violation of federal campaign law. That's going to go to the judge before it ever gets to a jury.
Quickly, Trump's defense.
Trump's defense is going to be, the main defense is going to be, he's going to attack Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen's the star witness. People can decide. The jury will decide if they believe him. Trump's team is going to point out that Michael Cohen has been convicted of perjury and fraud. Personal animosity, I mean, to say the least, Michael Cohen despises Donald Trump. And they're going to argue that he's made inconsistent prior statements. But Michael Cohen, the prosecutors are going to argue he's backed up by other evidence, and you can believe him.
Or other people, which Bragg's team may need. Okay, Ellie, thank you. So helpful.